It's the radio guy Mike Prince, and it's time for us to go on another journey. Our guest today comes out of Oklahoma, Langston University, the only HBCU in Oklahoma, and she is a proud leader of the Langston Lions. Our guest on the journey today, none other than Miss Donnita Rogers. How you doing today, ma'am?
I'm doing well. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Hey, good morning. Right back at you. The last time we talked, there had been some difficult decisions to be made, but as the leaders you are showing to be at Langston University, you stepped out in the water, and even if the water was cold, it didn't chill your soul. You made what I think is probably the most responsible decision that has been made thus far in the 21st century, and that is deciding for the best interest of your student athletes that you will cancel fall sports for right now. I know that was a difficult decision and process to take in and then share with your student athletes, but if you could briefly give us the process of what exactly happened to come to that decision.
Well, honestly, as I believe our university shut down March 23rd, somewhere around that. We've been teleworking for the majority of that time and have had limited access to our offices and things on campus. And it has always been in our mind, that this could be a possibility. I'll be honest with you. I thought it was kind of a distant possibility. I thought probably with maybe with testing and people being much more careful in the mask and hand sanitizer and enhanced sanitation protocols, that we could probably pull this off. But it just seems that after we went through that time, that period of a couple of months where everybody was doing a pretty good job, and now it's going crazy. And even Oklahoma hadn't been that bad until about a month ago, and our numbers are spiking. So it just became even more crystal clear that it was going to be difficult to navigate these waters, and our president will definitely err on the side of caution. So last week, and a little bit, but I'd say the last maybe about 10 days ago, he started kind of giving me a spoonful a day. Like, hey, D, I'm about 50% there. I'm on the bubble. Like, I don't know I don't know if I can see this. I don't like how my gut's feeling. So I was like, we'll see. I'm like, let's just keep seeing the numbers, whatever. And so last Thursday, he was like, hey, I want to set a Zoom meeting with your staff and everybody. We need to talk this evening. And I already knew what was coming. And, so he was just like, I have prayed about it. He said, I just can't make this feeling go away. And you always go with your gut. And my gut is telling me that we cannot play this fall. He was like, I'm not going to axe it for the spring yet. We're going to look at numbers and data and see what goes on. But for the fall, I know um, I just don't feel comfortable putting them out there. So we pulled it, and more than I've just been amazed at the support of our alumni, fans, and friends. I mean, I haven't seen one negative comment.
Before you got this glowing feedback, you had to have a strange feeling in your gut that, man, this is not going to be good. People are not going to receive this well. What was going on for you psychologically as the face of the athletic department? And let's add in there a female and the potential backlash that you were anticipating, like, oh, this is not going to be good. What was that like for you to get ready to face the music?
That's a great point. Well, shortly after it happened, I was kind of chipping on my bottom lip a little bit. I mean, it was just really hard to hear the actual words. It's done. Like it's not going to happen. I can't even remember a time of no sports since maybe second grade or something before. I can't even fathom. Not only for myself, my coaches, my student athletes were not wired that way. And even with everything that happened, the unrest in the spring, you're looking forward to, man, I can't wait. Every athlete, if you're worth anything, you think this is the year. I'm getting ready to do my thing.
Oh
I feel a
yeah.
conference championship coming on, and hey, that national championship, I can see you down there. And so, I mean, if you're not wired that way, you probably shouldn't be in collegiate sports. But anyway, those taking away those pieces, and even though as a athletic director, I always say that I get my wins and losses different now than I did when I was a coach. Just not having those things to prepare for, it feels weird. Like I can't even imagine another semester, along the lines of what we've experienced now. Although I've still been working a lot, it's just so different. Not having a day to day, going into the office, talking to coaches, seeing student athletes. Those things are so different. But yeah, it kind of felt a little like a death in the family or something. Like it was hard. And so I'm really just wrapping my arms around everything this week and like, okay, dust off. The shock is a little bit over. I'm up on my feet good. And, tomorrow I plan to address our student athletes by Zoom and, just try to, keep some good touch points on them and, answer some of their questions that they have to the best of my abilities. Obviously, the biggest question is, am I going to get my eligibility back? How does that impact me going into this semester? So those are some things that my compliance officer is working on now with the NEI, and it's also one of those things that we know that this may be a call where if we're one of a few universities that decided to call the fall, that we may not get a year back like our student athletes did in the spring. But if this goes where it has the potential to go, where other universities have to fall off and also cancel, I feel like that'll happen. But at this juncture on July 7th right now, we don't have a finalized answer on that part. So it's a faith walk for coaches and our student athletes that are staying strong and still committed to come to Langston.
Well, you say you might not get a year back, but I would dare to look at that a little bit differently. You get a year potentially in extra life, and so you do get a year back, and
Real fast.
especially when you're talking about competitors right now, and we don't know the word of quit or stop or time out. You want to keep going, even if it's 1 second left. You're down by 5 points, and you say, "Let's keep playing. Let's keep playing." And it's just wired that way for competitors to keep on fighting and to be able to say, look, guys, we're just going to pause. We're not stopping. We're just pausing. And it reminds me of a poem. It says, rest if you must, but don't you quit. And when you
So that's
are
good.
going through life, there are some times, some difficult challenges that you have to pause and get your thoughts together, get your plans together, get yourself together, and then you continue on with your journey. So I salute Langston. I salute the leadership there. There were other HBCUs that did the similar thing. Your mentor, one of your mentors at Texas College, they shut it down. And Houston Tillerson shut it down. And what I'm looking at, and I could be ahead of the game,
Three
these,
female athletic directors.
now you go.
I'm
You
going to
think,
beat you
yeah,
to it.
yeah, I know it. Now, that's not to say that that's a bad thing or a good thing one way or the other, but it does show consistency and leadership. And I'll be the first to tell you, you guys are more than likely ahead of the curve. And that's when you have the different styles of leadership. Testosterone, I'm going to say it. You don't have to say it. Testosterone will say, we're going to keep finding a way to make this work. Estrogen says, here's the reality. Let's gather in and go hunker down. That's how I'm seeing this thing. Now, I could be
Yeah.
off, and I could have an amen section. I'm pretty sure I might have an amen section from you, huh?
Well, I that is actually I'm a little speechless. That doesn't happen often, but that's an unbelievable correlation. And as you were building that up to that question or that thought process, you're exactly right. I hadn't really thought about it, but I feel like it'll be interesting to know. I feel like I talked to Alicia yesterday for a while after our conference meeting, and just kind of saw where her head. She's all in. They are hunkered down, and she's just like, we just got to ride it out. And one thing that this has taught us is to take, one day at a time. And you try to plan for possibilities in the future, but right now, this COVID it does not discriminate on whether you're at NAIA school or NCAA school, and it does not care. And I just think that everybody else really have not really taken a hard, honest look about this. Like, I don't want anything bad to happen to anyone's program, but I just don't know how it works. It would be different if they're like, hey, we're looking at the vaccine or this new treatment, it is working. We're good. We've got this. It'll be ready next month. But it's not like that.
No.
And that's what makes this even scarier. And, as we talk about, Mike, the multiple layers of how this impacts programs. So one thing we've all been talking about is when you lose players. All right. So if we already have a modified season with the NAI this year, you can only have up to 9 games because of Texas College and Langston. Many of our teams in our conference only have the 6 conference games now. But you look at what if 2 or 3 people on your O line and your D line get sick? They go up against each other every day, and then you got to go 2 weeks without those skill positions. It's pretty much over.
Oh, yeah.
And then we won't even talk about what if offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, head coach, what if it runs through your coaching staff? Who coaches them? How does that work? And I don't think people have really thought about that layer,
No.
the leadership part, especially at our smaller schools, because we don't have the type of staff the bigger schools have.
No, the bottom line is, and me being the show host, I can say it and take the heat. This thing is all being led by greed. And if they get in their minds that these student athletes, as talented as they are, as gifted as they are, stop focusing on them as your little money bees, that they go out and do all the work and keep building money. And I'm talking more or less to the FBS programs. And they got all these TV contracts and these coaches getting all these large salaries. And hey, if you can get paid, go ahead and get paid. And then you want to holler and fuss about NIL. You don't want to pay student athletes, but you can't make $7 million a year as a coach. While the labor does not get anything. Well, you say, well, we're giving them an education, we're giving them an opportunity. And I know it's been a hotbed topic, but it sounds like modern slavery to me. But I'll digress from that. I'm not going to even go down that road. But, that's how I'm feeling right now. I got my coffee percolating through my system, and that's how I'm feeling right now. But when the dust truly settles, you can always go back and make money when you understand how money is made. But you can't go back and replace that life. So safety over savings, to me, is going to always come out. Every now and then I come out with a good one, huh?
Yeah, if I had those snaps going on that one.
We're talking right now with Miss Donnita Rogers, Athletic Director of the Langston Lions. The Lions have decided to lay low in the den for a little while longer. And I can imagine, I'm about to be a little bit facetious right now, that some of your opponents in Sooner Conference, they're kind of excited because you're the only one in the conference thus far to have come public with this, right?
No, you got to remember. So, Alicia with Texas College, they play football in our
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I forgot about that. I'm thinking of the Red River. You guys used to be in the Red River, but you're together in football. So,
Right.
now we got not only 2 Sooner Conference schools, 2 female leaders. They didn't pull the plug, and I'm going to see it. You don't have to see it. The proof is in the pudding. it's a new conference, and you all have gotten an early foothold on this thing, and some people are probably breathing a sigh of relief right now.
You know what? I'm going to let you come with that. I'm not going to make a comment, but I'm just saying those Lions have only lost twice in 3 years, so I'm just saying.
Right, right.
So.
Now, on a more serious note, now that the reality that you have decided to shut things down on the athletic side, you will still have online education through the fall. Is that correct?
Well, ironically, it's still going to be, I guess, a test situation. I believe that our administration is calling it like synchronous learning or synchronous education. So we are starting face to face in the fall, but it's extremely modified. And so we start out the first 2 weeks of August. Actually, our freshmen all across the board, student athletes, whole freshman student population, they come back, I believe, July 30th and 31st and start class on Monday the 3rd. And they go for 2 weeks, and they have opportunity to take up, depending on if you're in an honors group like our McCabe Scholars or the rest of the general population, they do a 2 or 3 hour track of coursework where they have the opportunity to earn 2 or 3 hours of college credit prior to the start of the semester on the 17th. So our goal, we started out, this will be our third year, is for to really work on retention. And those freshman students have the opportunity to, for lack of a better word, they really imprint on their instructors during that time because we have to teach 4 hours a day. They have like 2 to 3 hours of study time in the afternoon. And then at night, they call it Lion Camp, where they have an opportunity to, they do like kind of mixer activities for them to get together and, meet each other. And so they have an opportunity kind of to meet each other and form their own little dynamic before the rest of the general student body comes back to campus. And so that we work on time management skills, study skills. It's a fantastic time. My assistant athletic director and I, we teach our student athletes their personal social development and academic achievement course. They're both 1 hour each. And then band has their own specialized instruction. And so we're able to actually have a hand on them, learn their names, all those little those important things that play a big role in making sure people are comfortable and feel like they have someone to go to when they're struggling or whatever during the semester. And we found that it's really been a big help. So we're continuing with Lion Camp, and then we're going to modify face-to-face instruction. So let's say it was like a 3-hour class, and let's say that we had like 25 people in a class. So like on Monday, maybe 8 people would go to class, and then Wednesday, 8 people would a different 8 would go, and then the rest of the remaining part of the class would go on that Friday. And so you have an opportunity to meet with your instructor, but you're still working with the online piece as well. And that allows us that if something does happen and cases spike and all, and we have to go straight back to online, we're already, and at least everyone's had their foot in the door, met their instructor, and still have an opportunity to not just feel so disconnected. And so, and then we will be off campus and virtual learning after Thanksgiving. So they'll
Okay.
go all the way up to Thanksgiving, go home, have their dead week at home, study, do all those type of things, and do their finals online. And hopefully we'll be better in a safer position to return to the spring semester with no one being infected or anything like that. So it's kind of a trial run. We hope that part works.
Well, I'm kind of listening to you, and I guess I would best interpret it as more of a staggered schedule, where you
Right.
kind of off and on and off, and that way you can kind of get more using less. It's a good economical move, and it's still a possibility and a moment for the students and the staff to have that quote unquote college experience. So I'm
Yep.
hoping that that works out well. We're speaking right now with Miss Donnita Rogers, Athletic Director of the Langston Lions. Another point that we might have to start looking at, and I know this is going to be difficult, but with no sports, and in the NAI, it's a little bit different because usually your coaches are wearing other hats, such as an instructor doing one part of the day, and it's not straight coaching. So if I'm right, and you can correct me, as I know you would, um, the coaching staff at Langston or an NAIA program is not solely predicated on them coaching their particular sport, but it's almost like a stipend when it comes to the coaching along with another duty that they may have at the campus. Is that correct?
Well, often that is true. And whenever I was coaching at Langston and grew up in those coaching ranks in NEI, that was definitely the case. But right now, I try not to, talk to my coaches like, hey, when I was here and I had to walk to school, uphill both ways. I try not to say that, but I'm just like, you do have a, you do have a whole lot to be thankful for. So none of my coaches actually do have to teach, which is a which is very rare at the NEI level. Some of us have, and actually, my assistant athletic director and I, we chose to do line camp because we just wanted to really have that first touch on our student athletes. And also, we have times where we're able to, when we're talking about time management in the personal social development curriculum, we also have a chance to tie in what that time management looks like for the student athlete. You were an athlete in high school, but it's going to be totally different. So now you have a strength conditioning coach. You still have study hall. You have to go to class. May have skill sessions or practice, and then you got to get your homework done, and then you have to go to bed and start all over again. So we start really, working on those things and trying to change their mindset before conditioning and everything starts, and that gets thrown at them. And just let them know, you're going to hurt during this process of conditioning stuff. It is totally different than high school, and just trying to prepare them. And so we just felt it was really important for us to have that touch on them, but it was a opportunity that we chose to teach and not that we had to. So we're very blessed.
Okay. Now, with that being the case at Langston, does that allow this little gray cloud to start popping up on the possibility of maybe having to relieve some coaches or put them on furloughs until this thing passes over?
Well, we've had a lot of discussions where I have with my president regarding this, and I think we're in pretty good shape for this year. We're all tightening the belt, so to speak, and it's kind of on a need to purchase basis, and we're trying to be really smart about that. But he has prepared us for, depending on what happens with the state, and we've lost a lot of tax revenue and stuff with businesses closed in the spring that we may really be facing some of these issues for 21, 22. So I think we're in good shape this year, but that may not be the case next year.
I do understand, and I appreciate you for being candid on that response. We're speaking right now with Miss Donnita Rogers, Athletic Director of the Langston Lions. And boy, what a journey to be on right now with everything that has taken off since 2020. But it's one of those deals that does not kill you, does truly make you stronger. And throughout the process, and I may have asked you this, and I'll just ask it maybe in a different manner now. What have you learned about Miss Donnita Rogers that you didn't know that she had the capability of achieving through all of this?
Ooh, I think it's kind of 2020 is hashtag resiliency, and it's one of those things like you keep getting a punch in the gut, and you get your breath back, stagger back, and keep rolling. And right now, I think in the midst of everything that's going on, what we do right now is to focus on our student athletes, on their experience this semester. So I know you talked to me right after it happened last week, and I'm starting to get my legs under me good now, and creative juices are flowing. And now my biggest concern over the next few weeks is start planning and implementing, something for our student athletes to wrap their heads around. Like, how do I move and channel that competitive spirit into? Hopefully, they don't know it yet, but this may be one of the best semesters of their life, and
Absolutely.
that's what I want them to think about at the end of the semester.
But when you bring that up, it's something that I don't think a lot of people have even considered, and I'm asking you this as a leader of an HBCU and then over athletics. What has been the mental plan to help some of these students get through this? We talk about the physical, we talk about the financial, but there's a mental element that these kids are going to have to adjust to, because for some of them, and I can remember back in my case, with all the stuff, I didn't realize all the stuff I had to put up with at my home life, but my escape was through athletics. How are you guys approaching that, if you even thought about that with some of your student athletes?
You know, Mike, this is an opportunity that for not only myself and my coaches, we cannot waste this opportunity. When you think about, you often think about maybe elementary students or whatever being sponges when they go to school to soak everything up. But you have to understand the psyche of the student athlete right now, getting ready to return back to school. Number one, they have to be so excited for the opportunity to come back, not only to compete and play, but to see their teammates, to see their friends. You've got to understand, like, they haven't been on campus since March, and that was abruptly taken from them. They didn't even get to say goodbye properly to some people. They went home for spring break, and we initially thought they were going to be able to come back. Some did, some didn't. And then our university was shut down that following week, and trying to make arrangements for them to get back home. So it has been a long time. And so I know that they're going to be sponges, not only just to see your friends and to get out. And I mean, you look at even adults can't stay quarantined very well during these times. And so this is a time for us to really, shape them, and hopefully you get little doses of your teammates and interactions in your class, and that we can just drive home the importance of, washing your hands, taking every measure possible, to stay healthy during this time. And hopefully COVID's also teaching us that we need to do a better job of hygiene and everything else with ourselves anyway, and that carries over even when we have a treatment or a cure for this pandemic. But we have an opportunity to really maybe push them in some ways mentally that they haven't been pushed at. Requiring more performance or higher performance even in the classroom than ever before. We have no excuses. And now, after going straight to online courses in the spring abruptly, all courses, I think they'll have a greater appreciation for that instructor. And even if it's only once a week in that class or whatever, they get to see them, that they'll take advantage of that. And I want our student athletes to be prepared. Hey, when you go to class, here's your list of these are the questions that I need to ask. This is what I had problems with on my online course. This is for my homework submission or whatever. So I want them to be prepared and then maximize that opportunity to get to have that face-to-face interaction. I think all of us have taken face-to-face interactions for granted.
Oh, yes.
And we need to appreciate that opportunity. And I just feel like this is an opportunity for us to develop a whole nother dimension of our student athletes in the fall.
No doubt about it. I'd always said prior to this COVID that the art of communications has become a dying skill because of all the social media. And we do understand technology is a wonderful thing, but now even greaterly is it appreciated about the one-on-one conversations, the interaction with other humans to help you develop that social part of it. And I think that is part that was underappreciated, and hopefully COVID will help us come back toward the middle when it comes on these things. You know, I cannot commend you enough for how you have handled everything that's been thrown at you, including the kitchen sink throughout all of this. And you sit with poise, you sit with confidence, and you lead with authority on dealing with rough times. And I truly, truly thank you for making yourself available. I thank you for your candidness. And I just thank you for leading by example. And I know that a lot of emphasis is being put on what is the Ivy League going to say, and that's going to create what they're saying a domino effect. But history will show that the Langstons, the Texas colleges, the Houston Tillisons were the ones that truly led the movement. And that could never, ever be erased. And with that being said, I want you to have some closing thoughts and comments as we get ready to bring it on in on this week's version of the journey.
I just want everyone out there. It's like, don't feel sorry for our student athletes, our coaches, and just pray for us. Pray for all of sports in America that we won't have any headline news cases of athletes that have fallen due to COVID during this time. And I just want people to. I'm going to lighten the mood a little bit. I want people to think. Can you imagine how devastating it would be for a lion that hasn't eaten in a year? All right, so I want you to think about that, and I want you to think about how competitive we are and how hungry we are going to be in 2021. So I know that my coaches and our Lions are going to be prepared to hunt in 2021.
Wow. Well, remember
going on the record.
On the record, okay. Oh, here she comes. Watch out, boys, she'll chew you up.
Yes, indeed.
For those who don't know what that was called Hall and Oates Man Eater. So y'all check that out. But she was dressed as a tiger, but it's a big cat that will pounce on you when given the opportunity. Look, ma'am, I want to thank you so much. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for setting the tone for what I'm sure is going to be forward. It's like the old candy, now or later. You can do it now or you can do it later, but it is going to get done. She is the head lioness of the pride of the Langston Lions, Athletic Director Donnita Rogers. I am the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince, and as always, we thank you for joining in with us. Thank you for going along this week's version of the journey. And until next time, you guys be blessed. We'll see you on the other side.